Sky Squad, let me tell y'all something. We got a lot to talk about today. There is a lot going on, and it's not all good news at all. But before we dive into that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell button, and smack that like button so we can keep the engagement going. Okay, so I don't even know where to start. Actually, I do. Let's start with Mia. Okay, so I happened to see this post from Mia, and I was like, oh, this is the same outfit that she had on when she was doing her interview with Carlos. I was like, great picture, great photo, yada, yada, yada. So then I actually did not even scroll to this until much later, right? So it says, tired of protecting, but the caption reads, to capture a predator, you can't remain the prey. Okay. Now, I would have to say that I think it's pretty clear and it will be made pretty clear who this is about. So let's get into it. She says, met my soon to be ex-husband at the men's club, Charlotte, at the men's club, Charlotte, when I was 19 years old. He would come into and hold on, before I get in too deep, let's put the alleged badge up here because obviously this is her side of the story. Now let's go on. She says he would come into the club during certain seasons and spend endless amounts of money. Naturally, I was fresh bait. Being the young and impressionable adolescent adult, he masterminded and manipulated me into thinking he was the successful, powerful pillar in the community. Maybe he once was, but his bones were buried deep. He won me in by showing interest in a charity organization that I was affiliated with and connected me with prominent people in the city, completely grazing over one of our first conversations of his very vague request. I'm looking for a woman who will make me a kept man. Now, she says at the time, I'm just pointing this out to you. She says that at the time, okay, she overlooked this statement. Then she goes on to say, he would teach me what he knew in business, but needed me to be his worker bee. When I tried to distance myself, he started showing up at my home unannounced and told me if I didn't follow his guidance, then I would never amount to anything. This is exactly how the first couple of years went, trapped, confused, yet still found my way through it all. My 24-year-old self is now sitting at the head seat at the executive table, running a multi-million dollar business, providing for my children, driving custom cars, traveling the world. What many would call the dream life? Question mark. What my soon-to-be ex-husband failed to share was that the excessive spending and lavish gifts were soon going to end, as he didn't know when to stop spending and he didn't know how to stop buying women. So now the buying the women's part is where I'm kind of like, no, oh, wait. Do you mean buying the women's as in, like basically buying their affection through gifts? Is that what you mean? Or do you like, I guess that has to be clarified, right? Um, just for the sake of the reader, okay? Like, because that could be confused. And I'm gonna assume, I'm gonna reasonably assume that she means um buying women's affection with gifts, because that sounds like what she's describing. All right. She says, after walking in on him having intimate relations and making out with a friend of mine in our home, I soon decided that this was not what I wanted nor deserved. So I followed my heart and ran back to my love, Inc. Now, it's important to note that Inc. has also commented here. Dat Boy Inc. says, proud of you for living and sharing your truth. Love you always, always. Okay. She goes on to say, Inc. has been and will always be my safe place. My soon to be ex husband lost his mind, became abusive, and threatened my existence, not knowing or understanding what he was going through. He shared that he was bankrupt and needed my help, begged me not to leave him and for us to make it work. With less than gas money in his bank account, I decided to remain in my marriage and help him get back on his feet. Little did I know this would be the first of many rebuilding episodes that I would have to climb our family out of financial distress. Over the years, lots in between, I've endured many levels of abuse from my soon to be ex husband. He promised that if I ever tried to leave him, he would assure me that I would not live a prosperous life, that he made me and that I will not be able to be successful without him. It took me over a decade to gain the confidence and independence to live life on my terms. I'm tired of protecting a predator, one who pays for intimate favors, who preys on young women, and master manipulates them into being his intimate slaves. I'm exchanging the word intimate for another word. I'm setting myself free, and while I still haven't told all, I guarantee you he will not win this time. This is a lot. I mean, this is a lot right here. I think that many of us had made certain assumptions about their relationship, mostly from what we've seen on television. But I think to hear it and read it in these terms, this sounds really, really bad. I mean, this is I mean, the way it reads to me is very concerning. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. We got to keep this train moving because we have unfortunately got some more disturbing news that we have to talk about. Okay. We have got to talk, unfortunately, about the Karen Hooger of it all. Okay. Now, let's get into the exact tea with what's going on with Miss Karen Hooger and this, well, her court case. Let's just call it what it is. Her DUI court case. It's really no getting around it at this point. So let's get into the update that we had from yesterday. The court, we learned, has denied Karen's request to dismiss the DUI case due to the quote illegal search while detained. Remember yesterday I told you that her lawyers argued that the evidence seized in this case was obtained as a result of an illegal search and seizure, right? Okay, so in according to People, the judge has denied her request for the dismissal of the DUI case. So apparently, the judge denied the request, stating that based on past Supreme Court cases, Hooger's roadside investigation did not require her to be read Miranda rights. And we talked about this yesterday. It the judge basically said this, and I'm reading from People magazine. The defendant's statements were not obtained as a result of a custodial interrogation because some of her statements were made while the emergency medical services personnel were treating the defendant for potential injuries. The defendant's statements made during this time were free and voluntary and were stated out loud while in the presence of police officers. Additionally, statements made after the defendant was examined by EMS personnel were not obtained as a result of a custodial interrogation because the defendant's subsequent statements were made while the defendant was temporarily detained pursuant to a traffic stop. The defendant's statements should not be suppressed, and the defendant's motion to suppress should be denied. Now, they continue on. The court provided details of what the scene of the crash looked like when the officers arrived. The filing alleges that officers found 2 beers in Karen Hooger's Maserati, which was off the road in a grassy area with its airbags deployed. Officers additionally observed the driver of the vehicle, the defendant, unsteady on her feet. Furthermore, the initial caller spoke to officers on the scene and indicated that prior to police arrival, the defendant appeared confused and the caller smelled alcohol when interacting with the defendant. Now, see, that is sounding like some secondhand information, but I mean, one could argue, why would that person lie? But I mean, if that person knows that Karen is a reality TV star and maybe doesn't like her, I really don't know. I'm just giving you the facts, okay? Then it says that Hooger was allegedly temporarily detained for less than 10 minutes before being placed under arrest. All right. And people did not immediately hear back from Huger's lawyer for comment. Now, In Touch was apparently the first to report that story. Okay, so I'll place the link in the description down below. So it's not looking too good for Karen in this court case. And honestly, it sounds like, I mean, now that I'm reading this, it sounds like, I mean, just more information has been revealed about the situation in general. So I'm kind of like, I don't know if this did her any favors, to be quite honest with you. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I mean, again, I can only utilize my Law and Order SVU university degree um, to help me think. I mean, make some us assumptions about this situation, and that I don't think it's looking too good for her in this situation. And it may be a situation where now you just need to accept the DUI. All right. I told y'all it was a lot today. The next thing that we need to talk about is the fact that, okay, like Miss Quad and Dr. Heavenly. Now, I asked for this yesterday. I said, when is Dr. Heavenly going to go live? What I did not know was that she was going to do so with Miss Quad, okay? And if you thought that Miss Quad and Phaedra left this season on friendly terms, I don't know what to tell you. Because based on Miss Quad in this clip, I have not subscribed to Heavenly's Patreon yet to get the tea. I feel like I'm gonna have to at this point to get the full tea. But the clips that are making their way around social media, it is definitely Miss Quad that delivers the most shade and drags Phaedra the hardest. Okay. For those of you guys who may not recall, Phaedra indicated that she is reviving Real Housewives of Atlanta. She says she basically revives every show she's on. And she is, basically she kind of indicated that she was the reason, she insinuated that she was the reason for Married to Medicine's higher ratings. Now, I knew that this was going to set things ablaze. I just knew it. I knew it. And it has. Okay. So basically, Dr. Heavenly feels like what Phaedra said was a slap in the face. And she reminds Quad that Quad said that, Phaedra had been benched for 5 years. And Miss Quad says, yes, she was benched for 5 years. And she was most certainly resuscitated. Married to Medicine actually revived her career. Okay. Quad actually asked if she didn't fell and bumped her head or something to that effect. Okay. Because listen, she was hot about that because I think she feels like, that I think that there's a part of her that still feels resentment over, and I could be wrong, maybe feels a little bit of resentment towards Phaedra for not having her back with regards to the girls like trying to ice her out last season. Well, not trying, they did ice her out, to be quite frank. And she was gone for a good chunk of episodes. Now, granted, while she was gone, I think her presence was definitely missed based on my assessment, and that's just me. So, I mean, I see a lot of people in the comments saying, well, Quad, you was barely hanging on to the show after they iced you out. So how you going to be calling out Phaedra? But I think that Quad is probably looking at the overall, vision for and where they are now as a cast, because it sounds like she's definitely back in good with the girls now. And I think she's probably like Dr. Heavenly and Toya, who also commented on Dr. Heavenly's I think Dr. Heavenly reposted this too. Actually, we'll go to Dr. Heavenly's page. What better way to do it than just to do it, right? Let's really get into it, okay? So we're gonna go to Dr. Heavenly Instagram. because Dr. Heavenly did indeed post some clips. And I thought that Miss Toya had actually commented. I don't see it now, but if you go to the page, you can definitely see it because I know I saw it yesterday. So all that to say, it don't sound like the girls are too happy with Phaedra. But let's take things a step further because actually Miss Quad says that Phaedra really only brought how do you revive a show if you're just making faces? Okay. And you want to see the face? Here we go. Shout out to our friends over at Queens of Bravo. Okay. Um, the girls are I knew the girls was not gonna be pleased. Okay. I knew the girls were not gonna be pleased with this. And I was waiting to see the reaction. Let's ask a couple of questions. Okay, number one, I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't think that Married to Medicine, I don't think that Phaedra revived Married to Medicine. I think that Phaedra brought some additional eyes to the franchise for people who may not have already been up on the fact that Married to Medicine is a genius idea of a show and it continues to deliver season after season after season, particularly in an era where it feels like sometimes the housewife shows have become very repetitive. Married to Medicine stands on its own, so much so that this iteration of the show can't even find um a suitable counterpart in addition to the franchise that actually works as well as this group does. That's a good thing, and I mean it's the gift and the curse of Married to Medicine and this cast. They just work, and they have worked for seasons. So do I think that Phaedra revived Married to Medicine? I think that there was the excitement of Phaedra brought additional eyes to the show, but I don't think her delivery on the show and her effectiveness on the show amounted to much of anything. Now, Phaedra already had some, I think she had a lot of eyes, coming off of Ultimate Girls Trip and Dubai and Traders. I think more so Traders than anything else, to be quite frank with you. I feel like the public was re-warming up to her with Ultimate Girls Trips. And then with Traders, I think she blew it out of the park. Interestingly enough, Traders and Married to Medicine ended up airing at somewhat the same time. So it's kind of like the shows worked in tandem. I think she being on that show and then she being on Married to Medicine, I think it all just worked. Now, in terms of, like I said, her reviving Housewives, that has yet to be seen because many people could argue that we became interested in Housewives again when it was announced that Portia was going to be back, and there was so much upheaval, when Candy left, and then the whole Kenya and Britt Edie situation. So it's kind of hard to say. I mean, there was excitement when Phaedra was announced that she would be returning, but I don't know that she can say she single-handedly has revived it as much as I think that there is excitement around her joining, just as there was excitement around her joining Married to Medicine. I like Phaedra, but I do think that Phaedra is going to have to put in the deep work that is required to do reality TV in more than just Traders required great acting. And maybe that is her thing. But in order to make it in this, like as a long-standing housewife, we need depth. And I just hope that Phaedra can bring us that depth in this season. Phaedra, I believe in you, but you gotta give us something. Because otherwise, we're gonna look at you as a one-trick pony, making faces, showing up and being fabulous. It's got to be a little bit more than that, and cracking some jokes, which are usually the ironic thing is Phaedra's one-liners, her jokes, her faces, they're iconic. We know this face. We know it. Come on now. Quad knew it. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said here. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If any more news pops off today, I will definitely come back and do another video. But with that being said, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. With that being said, Make sure you guys click the link in the description down below to get access to the ebook in a day course, as well as joining our trip to Thailand in March for, our group trip. I'm trying to think of how many trips I should do a year. Like, my goal would be to do like 4 to 6 trips a year, but I just need to know, where you guys are interested in going next. So with that being said, I will catch you all in the next video.